And I was going to say, I've seen some of the plans and the drawings, and they are amazing. It really is that aspirational, isn't it? That dream house. What I'd actually like to talk to you about this afternoon is your next new project, your Mavis Enderby project. Now,
Yes.
I know it's going to be a slightly different development because I know it's going to be under Para 79, that house of exceptional quality of design plan that you're going to be doing.
Yeah, that's the one.
Sounds really...
That's not how we started out, but that's where we ended up.
I was going to say, how on earth did you start out to get to that high standard that you want to get, that you want to do?
How long do you have?
Well, actually, we haven't got all day, Shaz.
Okay. So this was a piece of land which belonged to a farmer, and a contact of mine knew that particular area, and he wasn't able to buy it for some reason. So he kindly made this opportunity available to me, and I was counting my blessings. So what a wonderful bloke. He's offered me this fantastic opportunity. Really, he made it sound like this is brilliant. So 11.98 acres of land, to be precise. So a decent piece of land.
Yeah.
And I was told we can get planning for 6 5-bedroom houses with triple garages, which were going to be worth quite a bit.
Absolutely.
And then I was advised to use a former chairman of the planning committee, who's also a planning consultant on this particular development, just because he knows the area, he knows the planners, so he's got the relationship, he knows how the system works. So all that made sense. So I said, fantastic. I must have done something right in my previous life to have such a brilliant deal come to me without doing any work whatsoever. So we did that, applied for planning, and lo and behold, a few months later, because obviously these things take time.
Absolutely.
I'm told we've got 45 objections, for example. I don't know the exact number, but let's just say 45 objections. No, okay. Okay, I was told this is a small village with about 20 houses. So I don't know how we got to 45 objections, by the way. But by the time we get there, just so you know, I paid £140,000 for the land in cash.
Okay.
Then I've ended up paying for the planning application, which was about £12,500, paying for the drawings, architects, planning consultants, all of those fees that add up. So I'm now down by about £185,000. I'm looking at, let's say.
And are you doing this on your own, Shaz, or are you doing it with partnership with anybody else?
This was on my own, thankfully, because I do deals with joint ventures, and I'd have hated to bring in a joint venture in this particular deal, telling them this is a wonderful opportunity. We're going to build 6 5-bedroom houses with triple garages, and this time next year type of thing. But luckily, it was me on my own. I say luckily because things didn't quite plan out, and I'd hate to have a joint venture partner where we have such a rocky deal, because that just adds to the aggravation and the credibility and all that type of stuff. Whereas if I'm on my own, I just go into a dark room and beat myself up and come out again, and then carry on with life. I have nobody to answer to, if that kind of makes sense. And when my wife asks, everything's going hunky-dory, don't you worry, it's all going to plan. No, I don't. But yeah, this was me on my own. So now we've spent best part of £185,000, and we've got lots of objections from every man, woman, and their dog, and the planning application is refused. So I go back to the planning consultant, and he says, "Well, this beats me. This was, a pretty much a guaranteed, assured deal." I then go to the person who introduced me. What's going on here? Nowhere to be found. He's disappeared.
Funny that.
Hey, All right, and the planning consultant then says, I think we should revise the application. I said, no, 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 no. I'm going to go back to what I know best, which is go back to your own team and speak to them. So I went back to my own planning consultant, who's a barrister, a planning barrister in London. Said, here we go, we've got this particular challenge, what do we do? And he said, well, we can work a scheme around it. It's for 14 three-bedroom houses, and this should work. So we spent a whole lot of money, and another 35, 40,000 pounds. We submit the planning application, and I think a day or two before submitting the application, the local plan changes. Don't ask me how. The local plan changes. This site is no longer part of the local plan. Therefore, that means they're not going to grant planning. So now I'm down best part of 235, 240,000 pounds. And I think,
with a piece of land still.
Yeah, with a nice piece of land. So I go back to the planning consultant, and he says, really, it was bad timing. Had we done this, say, 2 months or a month ago, we would have been okay, but we are where we are. So I said, fine, what do we do now? He says, I've had a good read of the letter from the planning department, and it says this house is in an isolated location.
Right.
Which means we can use paragraph 79.
Absolutely.
So I said, all right, I've tried 2 other planning applications, so I might as well try a third one. So we did that, engage an architect who they kind of specialize to some extent in these type of homes. So they've done quite a few, and they designed a beautiful home, which will add to this interview when we edit it, so people can see how exceptional of a design it really is. We did that, applied for planning, and the planning director said, this should go to the design council. I never knew what the design council was before that, by the way. And they need to approve this and say, yes, this house is of an exceptional design and it meets the criteria. So I'm to meet with the design council. I think it's £3,000 or £5,000 for that meeting. Then you need the architect. Then you need the architect. Then you need the planning consultant. Then you need your landscape consultant or architect. So we all schlep our way down to Lincolnshire. Now that meeting is costing me £12,000. We sit there, we work out everything, and they're not happy with the landscape. Okay? We go back, change the landscape, submit it to them, and they say, that's fine, thank you for the drawings. You need to have another meeting and pay another £3,000 or £5,000.
Right.
So I said, this time, fine. We won't have the meeting in Lincolnshire, we'll have the meeting in London. I said to my planning consultant, you go and have the meeting, and the rest of us aren't going to go. Had the meeting, same thing again, they weren't happy. So 2 design council meetings, they're not happy. We then go back to the planning directors and say, we've had 2 meetings, we've done all this work here. And in fairness, a pretty sensible person could see we've made 2 attempts, we shared all the correspondence, everything openly, transparently. And he said, looking at everything you submitted, he feels this meets paragraph 79, and he will recommend approval. And because we'd had objections previously, one of the local councillors, or because of the number of objections, it went to planning committee. So my planning consultant went to the planning committee just before the coronavirus. I think there was either 9 or 11 people sat on the planning committee, and the planning was approved by the planning committee by 1 person. So we were over by 1. So it was either 5-4 or 6-5 in favour of the application, and it went through after quite a struggle. But the good thing is, it's a beautiful house in a beautiful location, and once it's all done, it's gonna be a really kind of a unique project, which I probably wouldn't have done had I known about it on day one, because it's not my type of thing, so to speak. But obviously, now having been part of this particular process, I'm bound to say this is great. But really, honestly, having been through the process, not only do you learn a lot, it's going to be a really nice house. And once it's all done, I'll probably move in there, Alison, with my family, and think, wonderful, you know. So it's all worked out. As they say, the universe has a bigger plan, and it's all coming together.
And I was going to say, I've seen some of the plans and the drawings, and they are amazing. It really is that aspirational, isn't it? That dream house. So you are looking to move in there, then you just haven't told the family yet.
Oh, they know.
Oh, right, okay.
They're probably going to leave me behind and move in there themselves.
Absolutely, absolutely. So obviously it's been quite an interesting steep learning curve to get to where you are now, which is obviously we've been in lockdown and everything, and now we're starting to come out of it. So what's your plans now in order to start recouping and moving on with it, to get the project underway?